Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I hope this video finds you well. Today, I want to share with you something that will make your life way easier if you are a fan of command line and prefer using your terminal to show things to your customers or audience. Everything started back on reInvent 2014 in the keynote presentation where Paul Duffy presented ECS to the world. He came up with something that blew my mind at the time, and let's take a look.
So I'll start running that task. So we've now got our RabbitMQ component of our application that's running on one of those R3 instances. Next thing we're going to do is launch the Redis cluster. We've already registered that with the service, so all we need to do is run the task. And what you see when that Redis cluster is launched, that in the visualization that we've got for this demo, these containers are bigger. And if we describe the Redis task, we'll see that in the definition of that task, we specified more RAM.
Can you see the amount of multimedia and real-time interaction between what he was saying and what was being shown on screen? That presentation was made with multiple big screens on the reInvent stage, and each screen was showing something different in real time according to what he spoke. One of them was showing an ECS cluster architecture diagram. The other one was showing the container task status, and there was a third one showing the command line, everything in real time as he spoke. That impressed me at the time, but I realized that it was a very well-coordinated orchestration between Paul and another person playing and pausing the video on the backstage. As a technical trainer, I used it to be in classrooms, doing demos all the time, and I observed that I was making too many mistakes when typing things on my terminal by copy-pasting a text file or just improvising. Later on, 2017, inspired by Paul's reInvent presentation, I realized that the command line part could be done in a real terminal and not a video. I created a tool called TermClicker to help me solving that issue. TermClicker makes the command line automation way easier because you can configure a text file with all the commands you want and press your slide clicker buttons to automatically type one at a time. Let's see TermClicker in action, and then I will show you how to configure it in your system. This is the expected result when I press a button on my clicker. It runs a command that I have in a text file. So this is the expected result. Then I press the button again. Every time you press a button on your slide clicker, and then there is a third line on my text file, TermClicker will read a file and print char by char, line after line. You can configure a different key to repeat the previous command, right? So you can have Linux commands in there, such as date, and you can configure another key to repeat the last command, like this one, date, 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 so on and so forth. So I configure the right button to move forward and the previous button on my slide clicker to repeat the last command. You can do Linux commands, and you can do your entire command line demo based on a safe, fail-proof text file with the commands already there, where you don't need to improvise or you don't need to copy-paste on the fly. So these were real commands from my iTerm, not a video, right? And with that, your terminal presentations becomes way cleaner and way more professional. So, how to configure that in your system. I assume you are excited right now, and I assume you want to have that configured on your computer as well. And now you should be ready to how to configure TermClicker. First thing to consider is that TermClicker runs on macOS only because I need iTerm. And iTerm is a terminal emulator for macOS that does amazing things. And one of the amazing things that iTerm does is the ability of running a code process when you press a keystroke. And that keystroke can actually be a key on your keyboard or actually a keystroke from a slide clicker, right? Because most of the slide clicker are actually external keyboards. And here, for example, on this Logitech unit, pretty legacy one, you have page down and page up. So TermClicker is a Python script that will be invoked whenever you press that keystroke. And here is how to configure that. First thing that you would like to do is going on TermClicker's GitHub page and clone the repository. github.com/deploy-to-prod/TermClicker. Then you hit here and you copy, right, the clone URL. Then you go to your iTerm and you choose a folder. In this case, I'm going to be configuring TermClicker files on my /tmp. git clone, right? So here I have my project, TermClicker, and those are the files, basically itermprint.py and itermreprint.py. Now, this is the file that will be invoked according to the keystroke. Make sure that you have execution rights on the file, right? You can see this here, because this is exactly what iterm will be doing. So you go to the iterm preferences by typing command comma or by going on iterm preferences, and you click here in keys, and you're going to add a new one by clicking on the plus button here and choosing an action, and the action is called run coprocess. So the coprocess that you're going to run is /tmp/TermClicker/itermprint.py, which is the full absolute path of our Python script, and then we should pass a command file, right? This command file can be any text file on your computer. In this case, I'm going to be hosting a command file on the same directory, so I will call it commands.txt. And it's interesting to put the absolute path here, so /tmp/termclicker/commands.txt, right? Now it comes the most interesting part, which is which keyboard shortcut you will want to assign to run that specific coprocess. And here is where you press the corresponding button on your slide clicker that you want to apply. Page down, right? So page down, okay. And now we can close this, and we need to create a file in this folder called commands.txt. The first line of this file must contain the number 1, and I will explain why that later. And then you just put the commands, date, whoami, ls, date again, and you can save this file. And now every time that you press page down, it will run itermprint.py, which will get that file. It will go on the second line of the file, because you have the number 1, right, which is the first command. It will print that char by char, and it will increment that number on the first line that I'm using as an index, stored on the own file, on the file itself, right? Then for the next execution, TermClicker itermprint.py will find the line +1, print and increment, so on and so forth. That's how it works, right? So if I press page down, I have the commands on my text file being written in my iterm safely without having any chance of committing any mistake. Now, what if I want to replay the last command? We can go again to our options, keys, create another one, action, run coprocess, and we can put /tmp/itermreprint.py, and we can use the same command file, /tmp/termclicker commands.txt, keyboard shortcut. I can put page up, and I do that by pressing the keystroke right now. Okay, close. Now every time that I press page up, it will repeat the last command, and it will not move forward in the file. If you're curious to see the Python code, it's not that complicated, right? So what it does here, it gets the first line of that file, and it puts in a Python variable called head, and it already prepares the next head, which is head +1. So you can see that all the time I'm using that first line with the index of which line should be printed whenever itermprint.py is executed, right? And it does some other things here, and it prints char by char, and between each char it has a delay from 0.5 milliseconds to 1 millisecond, just to simulate some typing, just to avoid doing something mechanic, right? Just to pretend someone is typing. You can play with these numbers here. So if I put, for example, 3 milliseconds here, maybe, right? And I press page up. In this case, ls is pretty quick. Let me add the commands again and let me restore that to 1. Every time you do a demo, this number will be incrementing and incrementing. And every time you need to do the whole demo again, you need to open the commands file and reset the head to the number 1. All right. So page down, you can see that it's now taking alternated different amount of time between each letter, right? So you can pretend you were something slower or someone that types really, really fast. So TermClicker, an open source project that you can install on your macOS right now. The reason I didn't do anything with Windows is that I don't have a Windows machine with me. So if you were a Windows user and you know any terminal application that gives you the ability of running code processes per keystrokes, just let me know. Let's collaborate on that together and let's improve TermClicker for the community. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll learn a little something that will make your presentations even better today. Bye-bye, and see you on the next one.